And it is May 22nd, 2016. It is 3:21 a.m. in the morning. I have not recorded since May 18th. I think this is the longest. But anyway, everything as always is happening on time. And everything is just the way it is and the way it is supposed to be. Always is. How interesting. I said, let me start reading the daily word for today. The title is Let Go and Let God. It is so perfect. It's like synchronicity. I'm starting to say the word correctly. And I say it's a synchronicity because I was talking to Linda. I would guess it would be yesterday into today. And I told her that I'm at this point, a pinnacle in my life now where things have gotten to be so difficult for me in a way, because God wants me to stay on path with doing what I promised to do, the mission to assist humanity to come back to life, come back to love, and to raise ourselves into higher levels of consciousness and connecting back to God and ourselves. It comes into a circle. And so that means that I have to really focus, truly focus while I'm also going through my own personal experiences, while I'm also taking care of kids. And the list goes on and on as always. It's like at some point, when you're juggling everything, you feel like as if at least one thing is just going to fall right out. And it doesn't mean if one object that you're juggling falls out means that it's the end or that it's over or that you're terrible at what you do. It just comes a time when you can handle it, but for so long and for so much. And so what do? You let go and you let God. That's the truth. You let go and you let God. There are some things that we just cannot control any longer. And there are moments when there's certain things that are within our control and there's certain things that are not. And easing God out is not an option, so to speak. So I've had to surrender. I've had to surrender in a way that I didn't expect. And this is at, I would say, at a level of being vulnerable and having the truth come out more than ever before. And this has to do with me truly demonstrating what it means to receive. It's time for me to receive is what God is telling me. It's time for me to receive from others. Time for me to not feel bad or think it's terrible to ask anyone for help. And so that's the messages that I kept getting. So I finally put my Pantheon, I think that is, account together. It took me quite a while. Posted on Facebook and everything because I've tried everything to come up with money for what I need to do to take care of my the physical things, I should say, to take care of my household with my children, and it's just not working. So when something is just not working, that means then what? Then it's time to allow God to manifest through you and for you. And that means that even if you do something that is uncomfortable or something you've not used to or something you've never done before, then so be it. This is where you're trusting with all your heart and soul that God is helping you with the solutions, that there are solutions. And it's about paying attention and following the signs that involve these solutions. Even if it means that you're going to do something or say something that is out of your comfort zone. And so that's what it is. So I had to step out of my comfort zone and go grander than I've ever done before to seek help. So I will go further into conversation with that later on, but I just wanted to talk about it firsthand because, I open up the book, the Daily Word book, and it says, let go and let God. Now, even though whatever I'm going to read is not, it may not be on the same context to what I'm experiencing, but it still has the same meaning. When we let go and let God, that means that when you've done everything that you could possibly do, when you have tried to figure out anything that relates to any issues you have going on in your life, and you hit what you call roadblocks, or you hit like a pause, like you've run out of options, like you don't know which way to go, you don't know what decision to make anymore, or you've made all the decisions you could possibly make. You've pulled out all the rabbits out the hat. You've done all the magic you could possibly do. You're waiting on your twin. You don't know what end is going to meet to the next. You don't know where you're going to end up living. You don't know what, whether you have your job again by the time you go to work the next day, because you're feeling as if something's going to change. There's just so much things. There's so much things that we have tried to do when it comes to decisions and things that we've had to do with our lives. And the other thing too is that a lot of people are not still quite aware that we are in the end times. This is the end times. Now, the end times, once again, does not mean that the world is coming to an end. What is ending is the old Adam, the old way, or the old ways that we have been, the old ways that we think we could be. This is for our own good. These are the promises that have been made by God from centuries. We are heading into a new age, a new time. Everything is going to be new. And it's going to be a new you. Be new. Be new. BENEW also. A new you. And the thing about it is that there are parts of the collective that is not aware that these end times is what was written in some scriptures, but it just wasn't shown to you the way that you think that it would be. You believe, or some of you believe, it's coming in another way. And I can tell you that this is the way that it is happening. And some of the things that are coming up are not necessarily, or have been written anywhere for anybody to be aware of it. Most of us are just day to day going by the living word of God, the living word of the universe, the living word of angelic beings, the living word of spiritual guides, our loved ones. We're all receiving messages in different ways, but it's not messages that are written in a book anywhere any longer, or what you find on the internet. Most of us now, especially the twin flames, are channeling information in the now. And so it's important for people to pay attention on a daily basis as to what's going on. It's almost like being your own detective now. And it's important to understand this. It's important to know what's happening. It's important to know the change, because, when the time comes, there's certain things that's just going to be totally stripped away from you that you're not used to. And you feel like you're going crazy, or you think somebody's doing something to you when that's not the case. Because, I scratch my head sometimes and I said, I wonder if anyone ever thought, if any other human beings would have thought how the end times would have been. Because some people think that it's going to be like the Armageddon, where, there's a big giant falling out in the sky or something. And people falling in a hole going into hell, and then some bodies are taken up off the ground and rising up into the sky. That's not what it is. That's not what it's going to be. The end times is happening now. It is called the awakening. That's what it's called. It's called an awakening. You're waking up to come back to the true nature of who you are. You're waking up to end the sorrows of the world. You're waking up for changes. You're waking up for the old ways to be dissipated. You're waking up to understanding where your wounds have been coming from. You're waking up to change. You're waking up for the new earth. You're waking up to help Mother Gaia to rise and to continue to rise into other dimensions. We are rising into other dimensions. It has not been done this way before. Twin flames are here on the planet to hold love and to hold the vibration and to sustain not only the vibration of love, but also to help with the shape shifting of the old relationships that have existed. Shape shifting all the things that we have gone through, purging out all the stuff that has not served humanity. We are the ones that have started the way. We've started it already. Most or other people who are not too inflamed, some maybe feeling the remnants of things. Everyone is going through all different types of ascension symptoms, or which you can look those up. I've spoken about them already. And some people have lost their jobs. Some people have moved in other directions. Some people have moved into other physical locations. It's just numerous changes that's taking place for a lot of people. And these are things that are happening that are beyond your control. Things have happened towards me that have been beyond my control, even beyond this. It's like I shake my head when I even think about my taxes, because, I've tried everything for the taxes to be filed, and it's just like not happening. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just letting it go. I've called, what's her name, so many times, then it got kicked out twice. Just weird, So when I see things like that happen, that shows me there's something that the universe is saying, hey, let it go. It's not serving me. Not right now. And so I let it go. There's more things to be concerned about, that kind of makes me feel like as if that whole system is just collapsing. Anything and all things that are false, that doesn't serve us in humanity, is collapsing. Anything that doesn't serve humanity for the good of the greater cause, that is helping us, that's for the best for us, for the highest for us, is collapsing. Anyone who's robbing and stealing, or being underhanded, or backstabbing, or scheming and lying and being deceptive, it's going to collapse. It's not going to work. It's going to backfire. And so I know that all is well and everything's in divine order with what I'm saying, because it's 333 right now. It's 333. And so I know that the Ascended Masters are telling me that everything is on track. I know that it also means that all is well. Everything's in divine order, no matter how it looks and how it feels. And so it is. So I just wanted to bring that up, I guess that's how Spirit wants me to start out the beginning of this segment, about what letting go and letting God means. It's like the topic for this week, even for the show, is going to be about surrendering to the self and surrendering to God. I've spoken quite a bit about that in my segments about surrendering and letting go and letting God. When you have done everything possible that you can possibly do, what it means to let go and let God. When the time comes where it's not about controlling other people's lives, trying to tell anybody else what to do, even including your children. That even if someone is saying they're walking out the door, you let go and let God. Anyone who's trying to do anything against you, and you've tried your best to remove yourself from their space, or you've tried talking to them, and you've done everything possible, anything that you've done, anything to the to the max with, and you've hit that pause button, or the universe just pauses it for you, stops it in its tracks, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? That's when it's time to let go and let God. You see, that's the part with us that we're to understand, is that there's times when we are handed things that are in our control as far as choices. And there's times when the choice is taken out of your hands. And so the choice that's going to be taken out of a lot of people's hands is the fact that you will not have any choice as far as being stripped away from the things that you have. You will not have any choice when it's time to look at your wounds. You will not have any choice when it's time to pay attention to the signs and the messages coming from God, the universe, whatever name you want to call her and him. The time has come to pay attention. The time has come to wake up. The time has come to start researching, paying attention to what you're experiencing, to understand this, to understand yourselves, to know what the true nature of who you are and what it means. What and who are twin flames? What does that mean? It's so many things to pay attention to. The things that you think you're normally used to reading or seeing or understanding. That's what this conversation is all about. It's like a one-way conversation, but it's a conversation for you to hear. It's a conversation you've heard before. It's just that you haven't paid attention. And so it's easier for you to understand by paying attention now than if it gets a lot more stronger, and it may seem frightening for some, and some may want to kill themselves or run away or try to kill other people, And so this is how we work on minimizing things, by finally paying attention. It's like more people, they will look at something, read it, and they don't understand, and they just let it go. They just let it go. It's like, whatever. And you see with stuff like that, that's the point that's being made here, how important it is to ask questions and seek to understand if you don't understand. It's very important. So there's less room for misunderstandings. There's less room for any type of chaos that you could possibly bring into your life because of not understanding, because that's how it usually starts. Misunderstandings leads to chaos. It does. Because one person might perceive something one way, another one perceive it another way. There's no discussion. There's no talk about it. And then it just goes on and on and on. And then it escalates and it gets worse. It gets worse for yourselves. So it's important to start paying attention. It's important to wake up. It's important to really see things on another level more than what you think you may know. So anyway, that's for that pep talk. I'm going to go into reading the daily word once again. The title is Let Go and Let God. I let go and I let God be God in my life and in the lives of my loved ones. Watching a child get on the school bus, begin a new career, or start his or her own family is an exercise in letting go for the parent. We are proud of each step in their growth toward independence, yet we may find it difficult to give up control. Whether a child, parent, spouse, or friend, they each have their own path to follow, and I trust God to guide them along the way that they should go. Holding on to my faith in God, I take a breath and let go of the need to be in control. I trust God to show them and me a vision far greater than I could imagine on my own. Through letting go and letting God, I allow my loved ones to reach their highest potential. And the scripture is from Psalm 52, verse 8. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the steadfast love of God forever and ever. And then I'm going to go backwards now, since it's been days. I'm not going to read all 4 backwards, but I just picked which one I feel is very much on path or track to what is happening here. And the title from May 21st is Faith. My faith is steadfast. I can tell others that I have faith, but actions speak louder than words. If I continually question and doubt everything, I am not reflecting a person who has faith. When I live a faith-filled life, I will find greater peace, joy, and love in all that I think, say, and do. If I have a health challenge, I pray with faith that I'm whole and well. If I have important decisions to make, I have faith that I'm being guided to my good. I listen to Spirit within and step out in faith based upon the guidance I receive. Praying for a particular need is easy. Absolute trust in the power and presence of God takes faith. I live my life with that in God, the source and creator of all. Examine yourselves to see whether you're living in the faith. Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5. So this is where I am right now, being steadfast in faith, really trusting God and trusting divine, trusting my angels, my guides, everyone who is assisting me in the physical world and the spiritual world. I couldn't have been more vulnerable than I could ever be today. Even, I have to point out Linda, God bless her heart and her soul. She and I have become so close with one another for the past 2 weeks. And it's like she and I are true sisters. We have so much in common. It's amazing. We just really are like the yin and the yang, how we complement each other and how similar in fashion we are with things. She's Aquarius, I'm Aquarius. Just found out that she has a sister named Sharon like me, and my son named Brandon. She has a son named Brandon. There's so much synchronicities. She's born January 28th, and January 28th was the day that I contacted Ivan, and the day that I remembered that I was Isis, the goddess Isis. Let me say correctly. How awesome is that? And so she, out of the kindness of her heart, decided to post something on her own page, asking people to help me. Help me by donating to help my situation with what's going on. And I just bawled. I just bawled because no one has ever done anything like this in this way for me, especially, which I can't call her a stranger because she's not a stranger. And so, but I can only label it as a stranger, as her as a stranger, only because we kind of rekindled soul spirits together for the past 2 weeks. I've known of her and interacted with her indirectly, for the past, I guess it's a year, over a year now. And, but never had any like complete direct contact with her. And how amazing how, we just clicked just like that. It's not like as if, this is the part with trusting God and trusting the angels and trusting, when you just end up doing something and you didn't even realize how did it happen. You're just going with the flow. And when it, every time I think about it, based on the fact when John said, "Hey, I hear you on the radio, Sharon," and all of a sudden I heard Spur say Linda, and I knew which Linda they were talking about. I mean, I know a lot of Lindas, but I knew it was her. And even when we contacted each other or we spoke on the phone, she didn't go into know, oh, so what do you think this is all about? No, we just knew. We knew right away what this was all about. We're connected, and we connected and tuned into each other's soul and our hearts. And then we went to the mind and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. That's it. That's all it took, from the heart to the mind. We didn't second guess anything. There was no interview. I didn't have to give no resume. It was nothing like that. And when I spoke to her, it was via Skype. It wasn't on the phone with just voice. So not only were we interacting, we were also exchanging energy. It was an energy. It was a soul sexual energy. And the sexual energy I'm talking about is that energy of creation. That energy of bringing things together, that energy that comes from the womb when, there's like nothing. And then all of a sudden there's something. Nothing's going on. What's going on? Ain't nothing going on with the rent. That song? Ain't nothing going on with the rent. But you gotta, something with me, and you gotta, with me, right? Something. You gotta do something. You gotta be something. You gotta say something too. You see something, you say something. You hear something, you do something, you be something. Still something. Doing, being, and doing and being. And you see, this is what happened based on what? On me listening. Listening to who? Listening to what? Is a listening to a who and what took place. I listened to the Holy Spirit that moves in mysterious, subtle, and loud ways too sometimes. I mean, how many times have you heard the knock, and are you really listening and paying attention? You see, there's so many that the messages come through, but you're not paying attention. And you miss the signs, and you miss the roads, and you miss the paths. So much missing and dissing. So, once again, how do you relate? How do you allow yourself to listen and pay attention? I mean, even if I try to think about how did it happen with just connecting to Linda, and all of a sudden we're hosting a radio show together, just blending like a yin and a yang. It's like Maya said, like she says, it's like a match made in heaven. And you see, it's a different type of relationship that she and I have, and we bond together. I mean, it's like we're practically talking on the phone almost every day. That's the kind of relationship that we have. And that's the kind of partnership that we have. It's both. And she understands me, who I am, more fully than ever. I know in the beginning there was sort of like trying to see how we fit together with what my intentions were. And so as just a little bit of time went on, she really got to feel and know the real Sharon, the true me. She allowed herself to understand who I am. And so even without batting an eye, it just was like, poof, we're doing a talk show together as hosts together. And like I said, this was from connecting from the heart. You see? Connecting from the heart. Another interesting thing as I speak of connecting from the heart was I called a church. And the church is called St. Vincent de Paul. And I spoke to a woman named Patty. And this was when I went to another place to seek help with my light and gas to be paid. I can't imagine how many people say, Dag, she sure got light and gas all the time. Yep, that's right. Because it's that energy always trying to shut off my light, shut me down, shut me up. Because if my light is cut off, of course, I can't concentrate on recording. If I need to download stuff, if I need to research, everything goes hand in hand. I need to print off stuff from the computer, all these things. I need the phone. I use the phones for contact and stuff that I need to do. I have been dedicating myself round the clock with what I am doing. I've never really thought about it as for a term, but then when you're dealing with the physical things that have to be taken care of while you're also going through the spiritual things, it's not an easy road. And so the ones who understand are the ones who are also walking that walk. And so this is also about those who may not be walking the walk, that they allow themselves to connect to each and every soul, connect to each other, to seek to understand, instead of just going about the daily stuff the same old way. It's important because you see, it may not be affecting you right now, but it's going to eventually, because we're all one. We are all one body. We are. There will be no more separation. None. And so this woman, Patty, I called her on the phone to ask her if there's any way that she could get me assistance, because I've called everywhere possible to get help. And it's sad and appalling to know that there are less resources to help people who are facing issues of their light being cut off when they have children, or they have situations that they're dealing with the loss of a job, or it could be anything. There's no need to wonder how did somebody get into that situation, because first of all, we're being charged so much money, okay, that's supposedly regulated by the government and the state, that we're being charged for all these things to have such high astronomical electrical and gas bills. I mean, it has been such a long time that all these things have been going on and nobody does anything. You just keep voting for people who don't mean any of us well. And that's why it's time for us to take back our true power. Really. It saddens my heart when I read all those families begging for help, and they're not getting help, and their light is cut off, and they have no resources whatsoever, no additional resources. And so I know I have to go through this, because I have to see this deeply inside to what's happening here. Really. Because I tell you that things are changing. Things are going to be changing in a mighty, mighty way. So the things that everyone or most people are used to, it's going to be quite a surprise when you see the change that is happening. No more will people have to be suffering when it comes to food and shelter or light, gas, or water. No more. It's these type of things that I look at and I say, this is what a coming together should be about, where everyone truly comes together to help one another and tithe to each other. And tithing is not just giving money. It's also the time you take to help someone else in need. Yeah. And communities working together to put more into funding to helping those who are facing these major issues. This is the, as they say, food is the staff of life, right? Because you need the food that to nourish your body so you can function. Then you need the water just as much for, even though they're doing shit to the water too, for bathing and drinking and, whatever that is, also has to do with sustentation of life, right? And then when it comes to the resources in order to take care of your children and your family, such as the light and the gas and all that stuff, why wouldn't that be more priority than where you're going to a physical location? Why wouldn't it be? Think about that. You see, this is the part where I talk about common sense. Why isn't there more funding out there to help families that are in these type of situations? Why? Good question. But people want to dedicate their time to celebrity shows that are giving out awards, and you dedicate your time to that. You dedicate your time to all these other type of shows that are on TV that's not doing anything whatsoever for the your mental capacity, okay? And then people are going to other functions that's claiming that they're doing charity, okay? And they could be saying anything at all. Where is it going? Where is it going? What emphasis is it being placed upon for humanity on a grand scale? That's what I'm talking about. All this funding that's going out into other countries, right? For wars and this and fighting this and fighting that. But yet still nothing hardly is taking place in the backyard. And then this is getting cut this place and this is getting cut this way. Oh, no more of this program for this. Amazing. Amazing. And then, we're being charged fees on top of more fees. When you look at your bills, there's more fees on top of this. You don't even know what the heck it's going towards. Then the tolls are going up, right? Oh, the gas price started going up a little bit more now, but that won't be for too long. You see? And I shake my head. And this is what you vote for. These are who you vote for years. Are you really looking and paying attention to what's happening here? Are you finally waking up? Are you? So, I give you a lot to think about. A lot. And ask yourself again, when you get up in the morning, how do you feel? Do you really feel that you're really feeling fulfilled? Do you feel that you're truly giving back to yourself and to others? Really sit down and ask yourself what you're paying for, what you're putting your money and your time into for yourself and for others. Yeah. Are you really fulfilling your passion? Are you really in a place where you say that you're feeling overjoyed? Or are you just working day to day, getting up out of bed like a zombie, going to a place where you're treated like shit, right? And you're not really fulfilling anything. And then some of you, by the time the weekend comes, you're going to be focusing on the laundry, more cooking, family probably coming over, sucking more out of you, and or strangers, whoever. And then you're going to be facing either one way or the other, where you're going to a physical place like the churches or your synagogues or whatever. You're sitting down among other people that are probably having more problems than they could ever dream of, and still in the same cycle over and over and over again. More suppression, feeling powerless, feeling more stress. Hardly anyone is speaking up and telling the truth because you're all so afraid. You're afraid of what this one is going to say, what that one is going to think, how this one is going to feel, and you're still not looking into your own feelings and what you don't want to face. So everybody just sweeps things under the rug, right? Cover up and wear the mask. It's time to take the mask off. It's time to stop covering up yourselves. I've been as vulnerable as I could ever be in telling you the truth about what I've been facing. So it's time to talk about what you've been facing. And then ask yourself, how did it get started? And I'm not talking about choices you've made in terms of directly. There's also the choices that you've made that are indirectly that's affecting you. And it's a collective thing. It's a group thing. It's not to be just solely by yourself. Do you see? I look at it this way. If I count how many people out there that would probably fill out a survey and say what it's like in their household when it comes to food, water, shelter, how many homes are in foreclosure, how many lights have been cut off, how many phones have been disconnected, when last have they had a vacation somewhere? When last have they rested? When last have they had any dream come true for themselves? When last did they have a raise? When last have they felt fulfilled? When last have they ever felt a level of joy, blissfulness, happiness? Any of that. I can tell you when I tune in right now, it's almost, 0 to nothing? But 0 is still nothing, right? 1 to 0? How about minus below 0? Right. Even people who are retired are not even in their joy either. You know why? Because they're living fake lives. There's still things to clear up within you that you're not doing. There's still things within yourself to work through. You'd be surprised, as I said before, how much clearing up there is to do, how much baggage that you carry, how much wounds you carry within your soul that you're not consciously aware of. The guilt, the shame, the sorrow, the anger, things that you've experienced as a child, the rapes, the molestations, the indignations, the beatings, the abuse of power, no food on the table, you're suffering, you're having to share, one bed with 5 kids, the list goes on and on. There's so many different things that we have accumulated throughout our lives that have been painful. And so how do we change these things? How do we change the cycling of all these things? It takes first waking up and working together. Wakey worky. Yes. Waking up and working together as in a community. That's what it takes. And that means that you're going to face yourself, face yourselves, face the mirrors, facing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, the next thing I'm going to read is out of the Science of the Mind. I'm going to read May 20th. I picked that. I'm going to go backwards and then I'm going to come forward. The title is, I Act As If. Start right where you are. Build the image of what you want and then act as if you have already received it. Act like the person you want to become. Let creative energy fill your consciousness and then mold it into an image of yourself in a much more abundant state of life. This is by Bob Proctor. You were born rich. It is the nature of the creative power to take form, and it is the nature of humans to use it. The Science of Mind, page 163. As I walked along the shore, I watched the crews of several fishing boats lower their nets into the sea. With anticipation and expectancy, they began fishing for their catch of the day. When fishermen pull in the nets at the end of their day, they evaluate the catch, keep what is of value, and discard the leftovers. The seagulls know this and follow closely. We too cast our nets upon the living waters to bring in our catch of the day. The sea of unformed substance surrounds us at all times. Our net is our consciousness, our thought and feeling atmosphere. What we draw to ourselves is the effect of this atmosphere. We can look at our catch and decide what we want to sustain and what we want to change. We do this by changing our prevailing thoughts and feelings. The more we objectively evaluate the effects, the more peacefully and intelligently we set new causes. We can then cast new nets of consciousness upon the living waters and draw to us a new catch of the day. And the affirmation is, I keep my thoughts and feelings in a calm, expectant manner, knowing that the effects of my consciousness now brings me a good catch of the day. And then I'm going to read for today, May 22nd, 2016. The title is, I Peacefully Declutter My Life. Cluttered closets mean a cluttered mind. As you clean the closet, say to yourself, I'm cleaning out the closets of my mind. Louise Hay. It is necessary that we release all thought as well as things that clutter up our lives. The Science of Mind, page 232. It seems to me that knowing what to keep and what to give away is one of the most important ongoing processes in life. Everything in our environment is a result of our choices. If we want to take inventory of how clear or cluttered our minds and lives are, a good place to look is in our closets, however painful the thought and act of doing so. For several years, I kept 2 coats that were no longer useful to me. They had served their purpose in the cooler climate where I had once lived. When I removed them from my closet, I realized I no longer liked the colors. Besides, moths and mildew had found a home in both coats over the years. Keeping what no longer serves us is a clear message to the universe that we are not ready for new and increased good in our lives. The universe responds accordingly. I challenge you to clear the clutter and make room for today's good. And the affirmation is, I now easily and peacefully clear the clutter from my closets and my mind as I welcome new and greater good into my life. And I will just add to that, a little more to what I was talking about a few minutes before I read this. You see, when you really clear all the stuff that doesn't serve you, that doesn't serve us, then what we're doing is we're welcoming a new and greater good and greatness in our lives. And so, think about it. These are the end times. And the end times means that we're now heading towards a beginning, and it's already started. There's no stopping us now. It's already in the works. It has been already. You just haven't been paying attention, perhaps, if you didn't realize. And so, the only way, or I should say the best way, to really welcome the new is you got to rid the old. Isn't that what Jesus said? He said you can't mix the what? The old wine with the new. Old skin, new skin. And so not only is change coming on the planet to do with the way we live, but also the way we are. And that includes our minds and our bodies and our souls. The minds can no longer be cluttered with all the old stuff that you've been taught from religion to government, society, your family, perhaps. That is to be decluttered. Your body is also changing drastically. Take a look at those who are really on the path. You could see by looking at the pictures. You could even see it on me. My face is glowing. My body looks different. All of me is different. That's the shift that takes place when you're clearing things up within you. You start to take on a new form. Eventually, our bodies are going to get taller, and we're going to be even lighter and look more golden in complexion, more and more and more. And then we come to the soul. The soul is also clearing up all the stuff that has been accumulating for centuries. And so what comes in new is that the soul is now connecting to the body to be free of anything, because it cannot operate with coming in with old stuff, because that is not the natural state to who your soul and what your soul is. So it's a new beginning with everything. So I just wanted to share that with you, and just think about the title again. I peacefully declutter my life. I can tell you that when you do start, for those who do start, because it's a choice, on their path of decluttering their life, not just the closets. I know with me, when I refer to closets, I talk about your skeletons, that fall out. That before you start judging anything, if you don't understand, if you've never heard of it, or you don't know what it means, don't say anything. Seek to know before you open your mouth. But I really truly feel that there are more people truly starting to wake up. And for some, you may feel like an alien. Now you're going to feel like an alien, some of you. I think now some of us who are aliens are starting to be more comfortable in our alien concept and in speaking. Kind of amusing too. But it's not as bad as you think. It may feel like it's painful because of maybe what you hear so far. But what makes the journey easier is working together. No more single-handedly, doing and beingness. We're doing this together, joint efforts, partnerships, looking out for one another, being supportive, not judging and understanding if someone is having pain, and that their pain is for their good, because it's something they're clearing up within themselves, so we can release it and move and continue moving through into the next phase and the next phase. It's all in stages. It's not all going to happen all at once, because it'll be too overwhelming on the body. And that's the reason why it's happening in the stages that they are. So just remember again to love, be love, and be patient with yourselves and with one another. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the next stage to talk about what happened the day after. What happened the day after I had been going through from the last time that I recorded. And this has to do with the fact that I was in so much emotional pain, stemming from all that energetic gang rape from the dream that I had. It was very difficult. And then adding to the mix, of course, was the stress that I was under from what was going to happen to do with my light and gas. I don't know what I'm going to do. And, it may have impacted on it even more because of the dream. And what it did was I was in a state of fear. I was in panic mode, fearful, and oh my God, it was awful. So I don't forget that. So all of that energy and stuff had to be, purged out of me. It had to be purged out of me, and to release it. And from what I was told, it was like almost like the end tail, I would say, of whatever I was experiencing. It was at the end tail. So what ended up happening is I ended up having a session with Kimberly and Maya. Yeah, that's it. I had a session with Kimberly and Maya. And they helped me to decipher what I was experiencing from the dream. And it was a lot of purging that took place. This has been, or I should say that had been, one of the worst moments of my life that I've ever experienced, with that kind of pain and terror. That's what it felt like being terrorized. That's how I felt, like I was being terrorized. And I had to purge through all of that, not only individually for myself, but also, as I stated before, for what humanity has gone through. That's what that was about. So I am going to play in chronological order of things by playing from the Golden Truth, Raw and Real, The Awakening, Sacred Intimacy. The Spirit led Linda and myself to focus on healing when it comes to the sacred chakras, because it's important, especially because it's hard for anyone to move forward thinking about intimacy, thinking about making love when there are wounds, when there's pain to work through. And so everything seemed to have been just right on track with even having the nightmares, because if I didn't have the nightmares, I wouldn't have, first of all, pulled up those wounds, and also to do with the collective. And there were others who were also discussing things to do with that same aspect. And that's what made this so interesting. So I'm going to play the show where Linda and I hosted the show together, because it's important to be able to share this, because of what has happened to many women and men also. Traumas, sexual traumas, and how important it is to discuss this, because what it does is that it creates blocks. It creates blocks. And that's why it's important to work towards healing from those blocks, so that way you can move forward with your life and continuously create your abundance. So I'm going to play the show. The show is titled The Golden Truth, Raw and Real, The Awakening. And the show was on the 18th, between myself and Linda. And so this was what was stated for the show. What an amazing show on The Golden Truth, Raw and Real. Presents the awakening, sacred intimacy. With the energies shifting all around our dear Mother Earth, there has been a massive awakening that is occurring within each one of us. We're coming back to our state of being and soul purpose. We spoke about how healing sexual traumas is the beginning. We shared how you can begin healing that trauma. We shared about intimacy and the simplicity of it, and what it means and feels like. In order to have a true, deep, profound, connected relationship, we must clear sexual trauma to be open to receive true love. This is for the masculine and the feminine. Men too have been violated, as well as women. When we are vibrating at the frequency of love, our whole life shifts and changes, and magic occurs. Be sure to listen to the show for more. So, I'm going to play the show now.
People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think
Blog Talk Radio. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Truth, Raw and Real. This is Linda Summers.
Hi, everyone. This is Sharon Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for all joining us today. And I just want to make a clarification because today's show is the Golden Truth, Raw and Real, the Awakening Sacred Intimacy. And I had put in there Sacred Orgasm. So we changed it to intimacy because it really is about connection first, intimacy, and then that. So we're just going to kind of dive into talking about intimacy, talking about relationships, talking about consciousness, and we really want to really talk about conscious living. Right, Sharon? I mean, we really want to dive into that.
Yes. It's very important to understand what conscious living is all about. It's really like on a level of being aware, and it's about having a connection. So it's not about just penetration. This is about having a connection, which is also in the lines of intimacy. And that's important, and we want you to understand that and make sure there's a full level of understanding of that and what this means, how this also raises the consciousness of the planet as well.
Yeah, I think what's important, too, is to let the listeners know that, the Golden Truth Raw, when we talk about sacred intimacy, what I feel what goes to a lot of people's mind is sex and, oh, my gosh, and, there's this whole misconception, and really what we're trying to do is really bring truth to light of what we have been programmed from the beginning of time about sex, about intimacy, about connection, about relationships, about all of this, sensuality and all of this. And, I just think it's really important for people to know that it's much deeper. Like we talked about last week about making love to the world and what that really looks like. And you had a great experience with your grandson. So I think that would be a great thing to let people know when we talk about intimacy about that.
Yes, I had the pleasure of having my wonderful grandson with me over the weekend, and I always call him my little medicine. And, when I woke up and he's laying there in the bed just looking at me with his beautiful eyes with so much love, and it's like I could feel his soul saying, I love you, Grandma, for taking care of me. And that is a type of intimacy. It's like he's such a pure soul. He's a pure soul, and his essence is just total love, unconditional love. And so that was a type of intimacy for me because, you know why? I felt safe. I felt safe with him. I didn't feel like as if, he's just saying he loves me because I did something for him. It just came from his essence. It came from his soul. This is where we are all heading back to for those who are interested in being on that path, is connecting to each other on that type of intimacy. And that means that we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and feeling safe with one another. And this is a part also is what's taking place on the planet with the divine masculine and feminine coming together and healing and feeling that type of intimacy where there's pure love coming from within our hearts and connecting from our hearts and souls.
Exactly, because we talk about balance, right? We're in this time of, where the masculine was very predominant in the beginning, and right, and then the divine feminine came in, and then now as you and I talked before the show, that there's a lot of movement, this divine feminine movement, and it can't be one. Then if we're just getting back into the same thing. First it was the masculine, then it's going to be the feminine. What we're really talking about is in life, there is a balance in nature, in life, and as well in us, as we talk about, there's the yin and the yang. Men have the feminine aspect, women have the masculine aspect, and there has to be a balance within that.
Yes, absolutely. It's important for us to understand how we view each other as far as feminine and masculine, because usually in the past with the feminine is where she didn't feel safe because of sexual traumas, and it also applies to the masculine too. There's aspects of the masculine who didn't feel safe to become open and intimate with the feminine, except them feeling that they just take charge sexually and that's it, and also allowing himself to be nurtured and feeling that love that can come from the feminine without feeling as if he's being too vulnerable. You know what I mean? And therefore both are opening up to one another. So all of this is what's important in order to understand the sacredness of the intimacy that we will all have together, and we all can start to feel safe again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and when you were talking about that, what came up for me was the 50 Shades of Grey is a perfect example of a boy who, his mom's friend, took him aside and, all these different acts. And so, that's a whole other, really it was where he became dominant. And
I didn't see the movie, so.
Okay, well, I saw the movie, and I also read the book, the first part of the book, and that's just a great example for anybody listening out there. That's a great example of someone who was traumatized, because we think mainly women are the ones that are sexually traumatized, but what I was referring to with this movie is, like you said, men as well, and that they will act and become the ones in charge, because that's what he did in the movie or in the book, that he was the one that became in charge and control. So, and a word you mentioned here is really, I think, important too, is about feeling safe.
Yes. Yes.
We've had these sexual traumas and we've had things that have happened to us. It is hard to be able to be vulnerable enough to feel safe, to allow that intimacy, to allow that connection, to allow the relationship.
Yes. That is so true. I'm also going to even express an experience I had just a few days ago. It was extremely traumatizing for me. I actually had nightmares of being sexually assaulted, like a gang rape type of thing, and it was very painful for me. It still is. I was so scared, so nervous, and I didn't feel safe. I was like, I wanted my mother. I wanted her to be with me so badly in the physical world. And what helped me to get through it is I had to start to feel what I can do to start to feel safe. And that means I had to work with healing within my own wounds. And it's not just myself that I was feeling all of this. It was also the collective consciousness, because, being that I'm a twin flame, I'm also purging through things for what humanity has experienced, which is very traumatizing. And that's one of the major things that has happened to a lot of people and the planet, and it's not something that we're easily, I would say, comfortable to talk about. And so a part of being able to heal with that is being able to talk about it. When you can get to that place where you can talk about it, because you feel like you can't, you feel stuck. And I was just crying and crying so much. I was just crying it out. And it's not like as if it was something that took place in this life, because I felt the whole experience like I was knocked in my head, and then it happened. And, I think about, and I know of someone who was sexually traumatized in a brutal way, and it's not a nice feeling. And so, I know that some of you say, well, I can't even think about intimacy or orgasm and all of these things when I've gone through any type of sexual trauma. And so this is how we can help one another, and allowing ourselves to start being open to talking about it to someone and reaching out and being able to work through those blocks, because it's important to be able to work through those blocks in order to become intimate. There's a stepping stone.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I even make my comment, I just want to let anybody know that if you want to call in and you want to share, please really call in and share. If you have a question, let us answer that. And the number is 347-850-8423. If you're calling out of the country, it's 001-347-850-8423. And, when you were talking about your experience the other day, what came up for me, what I heard was about the inner child. There's a lot of, I know people that have been molested as well, and there's that. What happens is from my understanding, that there's this inner child that lies within us, that resides within us, right? And that child, when this act is going on, whether it's a child or an adult, we actually leave. We disconnect from our bodies, and a fragment of us goes away, and we are completely numbed out. And so these people that I know, and this is what I agree so wholeheartedly what you're saying, is to really share this, because these people, we think, okay, it's been done, this trauma has happened, it's in the past, it's in the past, and we want to forget about it. But what we're saying on this show is that still resides in the wound, and it's still, you cannot have a true connected relationship, true intimacy with someone if we haven't shared, if we haven't healed.
That's right. And one of the things that's important from what I channeled in, because every experience that we have is something for us to help with ourselves and also to help others, And one of the things that's important is listening and connecting to one another to know if something is wrong, especially when we talk about the inner child. It's also not only the inner child within us, but also the children who are also on the planet who are being sexually traumatized, which cannot allow them to get to a place of even being comfortable with intimacy when they get older. And then that spirals into another destructive and chaotic behavior that occurs on the planet, and then the cycle continues. And so it's important to also listen to our children and pay attention to if the child comes to you, because I spoke about that in my recordings this morning. When the child comes to you and say, I've been touched, I've been this, to listen and to be consciously aware of what is happening. And you see, that's a part of conscious living. It is.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I want to tell the listeners, like, really what we're really trying to do is to really bring awareness and provide the information so people to heal, so there can be this connection, this relationship, a true intimate relationship. And so let's talk. I mean, I really feel like I really want to stay with this whole where we're at, because I don't feel we can have intimacy until we really talk about this sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And so the question kind of comes up to me, and I've never really. The only way that I've talked with these people in situations like this is really helping them to identify and realize that at the time that this was happening as a child, you are a child. You don't know. You don't know. And you think that these people are the God. They're the ones that are, we look at them as role models, as our parents or as our friends or whatever's happening, right? So, I feel that. So I guess what I'm really saying is, how do we really heal? How do we look at these situations? We talk about it. We have the understanding that we were a child, that if there's no guilt on us, there's no blame for us. We didn't know any better, right? So to help them shift their perspective, that's where I was coming from. But, I don't want to say I haven't ever had this, because there was an incident in my own life where I thought, and this is where I think for myself, that I blocked it out. Like, according to me, that it never happened. Whether it really did, I couldn't tell you, unless I dove into hypnosis or something like that. But, I don't know if I really want to know, right? So, I mean, I have felt it hasn't traumatized me in any way, because I don't really know. But so I really want to talk about that. I think, don't you think, it's just to go that place of how can we heal these?
Well, I know one of the key things, is how we allow ourselves to be open to the listening aspect and paying attention and being conscious. I come back to that again because I gave an example how when I was a young teenager, and I've had many bouts of stalkers and, people following me and stuff like that, and I told my mom, and my mom believed everything I said. Because why? Because she lived consciously. You see, and there's so many stories that I've heard, even a recent story of a young woman in another country. She was 18, and she told her mother over and over again that her own father was raping her repeatedly, and her mother and her sister did not believe her. And she decided to record it in order for someone to believe her. And this is what happens when people are not being conscious at all. And so this pain continues, and it's because in areas of society, and it doesn't matter, it's in all parts of the world, where everyone is just oblivious to things. Most people are just oblivious to things, and they're not being conscious. And if we really are connecting to the heart and the soul of that person, we'll be able to feel that it's true, regardless. And so because of things that have been passed on from generation to generation, the bloodlines, the history of what you're taught, look, don't say that. That's not good. That's not true, because we don't want to believe it. We don't want to face the truth. So a part of this is about awakening ourselves to the truth. Yeah. Awakening ourselves to what's happening here and facing the truth and facing ourselves. Sometimes, 9 times out of 10, the trauma that's existed in most of our lives is because our own parents have gone through it and they don't want to face it. And so they just push it away. And then that's where the blocks continue, and that child or that young person cannot feel safe enough to talk to anyone about it, and then it continues. And so you see, that's also another type of intimacy, how you can allow yourself and your parents or your loved ones to be intimate enough to be able to discuss things openly, especially when it comes to sex, when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to connecting, because that's what true intimacy is all about, is connecting. When we're disconnected, then how are we to feel and know what is true? And how do we connect? We connect from the heart.
I want to go back because what came up for me, and I feel that this is an understanding, and I'm not sure where you're at with this, but I know that from my own experience of just through life and of through growing, that what I realized was within my own parents, so what I'm saying is that if someone is being sexually molested by their father, let's say, I feel that if we can have the understanding of looking at how the father, what was his life like? Did he get raped? What was his father's like? Did he get raped? And same with the women. So if we can have that understanding that we don't know what we don't know, and if they don't know how to love, if they don't know how to connect, if they don't know how to be intimate, then they're not going to be able to be that way with us. So not to say that it was okay, by no means. So if we can have the understanding of knowing about our parents. I mean, I didn't even know about my mom's life until just probably maybe 3-4 years ago when I inquired into how was it growing up for you. And what I realized, my mother had a very hard life. It was about survival for her. And I didn't know that. So it made me help to understand how she was with us and why she was with us, because she didn't know anything else, right? So I think people who abuse and people who do that, that's because they only know of one thing. They only know that because that was happening to them. It doesn't make it right by any means, right? So this is what we're saying, is to be in conscious living, conscious awareness, to be listening to, being in tune, right? To start having those conversations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's very important to start having the conversations with your children. Start it from now. A lot of times people say, oh, no, I can't talk about it now, they're too young. No, you have to understand you're looking at a soul here, and there's so much taboos, and these taboos have been passed on from generation to generation, because for you to think that your children are not going to go and explore and to find out things, there's even, in families, they don't even want to address masturbation, they don't want to address sexual activities, they don't want to address anything, and then, the child is going to explore, because why? Because it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing for us to want to explore, for us to want to understand. And if we're not taught and for it to be understood, it becomes misunderstood, and then it becomes, that label, it's dirty, it's nasty, what is this here? No, stay away from that, don't do that. And then there's a suppression that occurs. So whenever a person feels suppressed, then what happens? It doesn't feel natural for them, right? This is not something we're talking normal, because there's a difference between normal and natural. So something that's natural within us, because why? We are, by nature, natural law, we are sexual beings. We're sexual beings. And that is within us from our creation. There's a difference between saying from our creation than from our birth. From our creation, we were created through sexual energy. We are sexual energy. Sexual energy is what makes things happen. And so when I think about things from a grander scale, Linda, this is about how can we work through these wounds? How can we come back to who we were, to that original pure state, like my grandbaby. Right. All the babies of the world that are coming in right now to help this planet to heal on a grand scale, and how do we start? Where do we start? Start now from within ourselves. And that means that we're allowing ourselves to face our fears, and we are remembering who we are, because all this is within us. It's remembering who we are and work from that place of healing, so we can start moving in that direction of feeling safe and becoming intimate with each other. And there's a difference with understanding there's levels of intimacy. So I want everyone to know that. And as long as you allow yourself to understand, it'll make a difference.
Absolutely. And I feel that it begins with the parents And we have children that are so young that have computers. We're talking 5 years old. We're talking 2 years old, right? So they're very accessible to the internet. So it is really, I feel, the parents' responsibility to really pay attention, to see and know what their children are doing. That's going to be really important to begin there. And I also, it reminded me when you were talking of my own mother who, when I came into the whole puberty thing, my mom didn't talk to me at all. I had an older sister, thank goodness, that told me everything, right? My mom was like, we were kind of afraid. It was very hush-hush in my family. She was afraid to...
In most families, Linda.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So what we're saying is that you want to start having these conversations because I know when my children were in school, and we're talking probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that they were in school, girls and boys, we're talking in the bathroom, doing a lot of things that should not have been done because, so there's a lot of things that are happening, and if we're not in tune and we don't shift that, it's not going to change. So because of the parents, and I also want to say something too about religion. You talk about you mentioned something, and what popped into my head was about religion because about the whole taboo and the masturbation and all of this. I think religion has really kind of put a thumb down on us, so to speak, to say that is that it's wrong and made it that way, that it wasn't appropriate, to know, like you said, our bodies are for exploring. That's what we're here. I mean, as a child, when they're babies, they're touching, they're feeling, they're like, what is this?
And it's a part of the five senses. And the thing about it is that things would be so much different in the world if there was an open, honest, truthful addressing of sexuality. So where everything is open to discussion, to talking about it. That is what's healthier. It's healthier. But when it's hidden and suppressed and demonized, or, all those words that use, killed for it, and, what comes with these rebelling and the things that happen to so much of our young people, it doesn't matter whether male or female, it's because it's an act of aggression. There's an anger, there's something. And what is that? That's usually because you're going against something that's natural. When you go against natural law, what happens? You create chaos and calamity and the wars. That's what has started all of this. And so this is about coming to the truth. That's what we're about, right? The truth here. This is the truth. Time to face the truth. And so if everybody's looking on the outside for the truth, start looking inside for this truth. You're hearing it. You're hearing it right now. And it's
I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so what I'm kind of hearing is the listeners are saying, so how can I go in and heal? How can I start to heal those wounds? Because as we mentioned earlier in the show, in order to be able to have a deep, intimate, profound, connected relationship, we have to heal that sacred, the wound within ourselves, right? To be able to be vulnerable enough to be open, to allow the unfoldment of the creation of the energy and all that to happen. So, so I think we talked about sharing, right? I'm sure there's groups that you can go to. So I feel there's probably, I think, to have the understanding of where were your parents coming from, to know how your parents were raised, what was their life like, right? And also, too, I think that if their life was not anything that was crazy, right, but yet this son or daughter turned out to be that way, maybe it's because the parents did not listen, did not pay attention, did not, love, or, there could be a whole lot of things. So I think it's really to understand the people. So I'm sure you have some other things that you would add to that as well.
Oh, yes. There's many ways to how to deal with this trauma or any type of trauma. Firstly, there's support groups, and also this is about not being afraid to open yourself up to talking to someone, so you can identify and to help to understand. If when you get to a place of understanding what is happening through you, not to you, where we don't place ourselves as victims, okay? Because the victimization is what keeps you in that cycle of energy of pain and more pain and continuous pain. One way or the other, it's like having to face that pain. When you face that pain head on, you're able to set yourself free. And when you set yourself free, then you're able to move forward into your natural state of beingness, coming back to that pureness of your soul where you were not traumatized or you're not in a fear whatsoever. And this means that there's releasing that's taking place within you. Reach out to someone. It helps. Doing it alone may not necessarily help. I've had to do it myself. I reached out to 4 people to help me through what I was feeling. And it wasn't like as if it was physically happening to me. That was an emotional, deep wound that I was feeling. I can talk about it now without crying. That's how deep the pain was for me. And so for those who have physically had it, and there's some who's physically experienced it, or they may have a child or a loved one who's experienced it, and it's painful for them because it brings up wounds for them as well. You can also help to clear and work through your healing, meditating, going outside to nature, or contact someone who can also help you with regression as well. That can help you, because sometimes you don't even realize that you have wounds that are within you from past lives that you're carrying with you, and you wonder why you're not able to be openly intimate with someone, and it could be based on that. There are people who are in relationships that they have sexual dysfunctions, issues that are going on with themselves, in so many disproportions. And so these are the things for you to think about. And, you can always email us if you would like to get more personal insight. If you want to get help on that, we'll be more than happy to help you with that. Because this is important for us to really work, and that's what we're here for. That's why we're doing this show, so that way we help one another to come back to that place of our self-realization and awareness, and that means that we're working to healing ourselves. It's a process. You don't just become healed. It's a process. And when you allow yourself to be open to that process and moving through it step by step, and that means you're not blaming yourself, you're not judging yourself, and you're allowing yourself to move towards, if there's any forgiveness involved, that helps you, because the forgiveness will be for you more than what has happened to you or through you.
Absolutely. So if you do have any questions and you really want some assistance, please email us at the Golden Truth Raw, and then the letter N is in Nancy, Real, R-E-A-L. So it's the Golden Truth Raw and Real at gmail.com. So you can, we'll be more than happy to, assist you in whatever you need, if it's just in sharing, just in talking. So we're definitely here for you, because, we're wanting to bring the truth out. We're wanting to create, a better world and really bring people into awareness so that we can have this world about love, and being in love and making love to the world, and
that's right,
being in love. But we can't get there. It takes all of us to work together. It's not we're doing life by ourselves.
That's right. And and even if there's anyone that knows of someone that you suspect and you feel that they're experiencing trauma or molestation, or even if it's domestic violence, no matter what the case may be, please do something. Even if you can't physically do anything, just reach out to help that person, because sometimes the person might feel stuck, like they can't move, they can't speak, because of how traumatic it is for them. You look at them as yourself. It's time for us to start looking at ourselves as each other, and that is what a connection is all about. The more we work towards connecting to one another, is the more we continue to set ourselves free and create a better, happier world.
Absolutely. Well, and what comes up too is, and we've got about 50 seconds, about a minute left, but I feel that it's we get so busy in our lives, right, that we don't have time to relate. We don't have time to connect, and that's where all the disconnection happens. That's where we're if we stay at that vibration, then we will not create something that's going to be of a higher vibration and enjoy. So I feel it's really important for people to start living consciously. Start really connecting with one another. Smile. It doesn't have to even be a conversation. It's just a smile, just a look, just opening the door. Simple little, like they say, simple, small kindness.
That's right. And smiling and that type of kindness is a form of intimacy. It is, because we all desire to connect and to feel connected to one another, especially physically. You see, the hugging, the touching, the kissing, holding hands, it all counts. Even, sitting on someone's lap. That's a form of intimacy and feeling connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I mean, just really, everybody out there that you've just been listening, that really email us at thegoldenTruthRawAndReal@gmail.com if you have any questions. And again, today's topic was about the awakening sacred intimacy, and really we dove into a lot of, before we get into the intimacy, it has to be healing those sexual traumas. And so there's a lot of tips today that you can, listen to the show to really, hear what we had to say, and then also email us.
Yes.
Yeah, so
wonderful.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today, and we love having you tune in. Yeah, absolutely. It was just a wealth of information, and it's a beginning of being able to start this connection, this relationship, and this intimacy, and really in having true love relationships.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we thank you all for joining us today, and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube, we thank you so much. Don't forget to
very much.
follow.
No, I'm saying we thank you very much. Lots of peace, blessings, and healing to each and every one of you who are out there who are listening.
Yeah, and again, just share and open up, and email us, and we're here for you, for everyone. We're here for, whether it's sexual trauma, whether you want to just have a conversation, there's something going on that you want to, ask us about, please just definitely call in. We're here for you. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And you can find us on YouTube with The Golden Truth Raw and Real. You can find us on Facebook, The Golden Truth Raw and Real. And again, our email address is thegoldenTruthRawAndReal@gmail.com. So we love you, we thank you, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Have a great night.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
So that is the show. And of course, Spirit always has signs that come towards me to tell me that I'm on the right track, And so article was led to me on Facebook, just like that. And the title is 7 Steps to Heal Sexual Blocks. So I'm going to read it to you right now. And it says here, 1, where we feel most passionate, free, and wholly satisfied. For some, it can be a source of fear, frustration, resistance, dissatisfaction, or shame. So this is the 7 steps to heal sexual blocks. This was posted by soulspottv.com. And so I read on further. It says, we live in a world where distorted sexual messages populate the media and unconscious sexuality dominates the culture. Things such as objectification, pornography, sexual abuse, and genital mutilation, circumcision are normalized parts of society. Most men and women carry some form of sexual wounding that has limited their capacity to have a deeply fulfilling sex life. Negative sexual experiences or even medical procedures can prevent us from having a healthy relationship to sex, from feeling safe sexually, or allowing ourselves to experience our greatest pleasure. This can manifest in the form as physical pain, decreased arousal, sexual dysfunction, insensitivity or numbness, feelings of fear, shame, disassociation, repeated patterns of violation, abuse, trauma, and so on. Sexual healing can be a vulnerable subject to address, but the rewards are well worth the journey. We do not need or deserve to settle for a mediocre sex life. Due to childhood sexual abuse, I've experienced the pain of sexual limitation. I feared that I would always suffer from physical pain, insensitivity, and inability to orgasm for the rest of my life. Through determination and commitment to my healing and exploration, I have found that no matter what we have been through, we're all capable of and deserve to have an amazing, healing, and orgasmic sensual life. If we can find the courage to walk through the fires of our healing, we can awaken a powerful, passionate, and creative side of ourselves that can provide an endless stream of fulfillment. When we heal our sexual blocks, it allows for the pleasure of our love and life force to flow freely throughout all areas of our life. This union with self and source can be done with or without a partner. This union results in a passion and joy that ripples out in a myriad of ways, such as spreading more love, increased confidence, activating creativity, vibrant health, and increases our pleasure in other forms. It is clear that as a collective, we have much to heal and transform around sexuality. As we take responsibility for our individual healing, we inspire a new sexual paradigm together and contribute to a more healthy sexual culture for our future generations. Here are 7 essential steps to get your sexual heal on. Number 1, go to the root. Getting to the root of sexual challenges can be difficult, but vital to transcending them. It takes courage to face what happened, let alone recognize the true impact it's had on your life. Be willing to look at your sexual symptoms or sexual issues and connect them with past sexual experiences. Decide that now is the time to heal and take it one step at a time. Consider if you're experiencing any of the symptoms below and consider what their source could be. Here are some of the physical and mental symptoms have been associated with sexual violation or abuse. 1/2. Guilt, shame, self-blame. Anxiety, stress, tension, and depression, self-destructive behaviors and addiction, insomnia or other sleep disorders, eating disorders, obesity as a means of protection, dissociative patterns or difficulty experiencing feelings, repression, denial, amnesia, and negating the effects of sexual abuse, feelings of worthlessness, feeling dirty or ugly or dissatisfaction with body, fear and suppression of one's light, beauty, femininity, and sensuality, suppression of creativity, difficulty establishing or maintaining intimate relationships, promiscuity, difficulty setting boundaries, repeating patterns, one half last. Repeating patterns of being violated or involved in abusive relationships, feeling emotionally distant, not present during sex, low sexual desire, avoiding, fearing, or lacking interest in sex, approaching sex as an obligation, experiencing negative feelings such as anger, disgust, or guilt with touch, difficulties with trust, not trusting sexuality, partner, or life, fear of intimacy, sexual dysfunction or inability to orgasm, pain or numbness during sexual activity, intolerance of or constant search for intimacy, post-traumatic stress disorder or symptoms, gastrointestinal distress, chronic headache or back pain, lying, stealing, running away. 1/2 last. Many suffer from these symptoms, not understanding how significantly past sexual experiences have influenced their lives. Because sexual violation is a taboo subject so closely linked to shame, many avoid facing it, even though they still suffer from its results. It is best to have support during this process with a trusted friend, practitioner, or mentor that has gone through it before. The next step is number 2, release. There's a saying, you gotta feel it to heal it. Create the time and space to feel and express the withheld emotions related to the root cause of your sexual challenges. There can be many emotions that come from sexual wounding, the most common being anger and grief. Anger is a powerful and liberating emotion that defines our rights and needs. Grief can come from the sadness that someone would do something so hurtful and from what we lost because of it. Set it free. There are multiple ways to release and express your deep emotions. One of the most fun and effective ways is through creativity. It can be through dance, writing, music, or art. I have had some of my most transformational and empowering releases when getting in touch with my emotions creatively. Don't be afraid to really go for it. It will be well worth it. Here are some suggestions that have worked well for me and my clients. Put music on and allow yourself to connect with the incident and the emotions and thoughts connected to it. See what is ready to come out and be communicated. Express it through poetry, art, dance, or music. I have written poetry about my story, painted abstracts of my inner child, painted the emotions from what happened, painted the limiting beliefs that came from what happened, painted abstracts of my vagina yoni to appreciate it in a new way, and communicated to my abuser through a solitary dance that was really powerful. See what calls to you and go for it in a private and safe space. Number 3, remove energetic cords and imprints. Everyone that we have sexual experiences with leaves their energetic imprint in our root area, sexual organs, and sometimes we even stay connected through an energetic cord. It is essential to remain sovereign in your energetic field, and especially your womb area, or hara for a man. This area is the seat of our intuition and also where we create from. It is our root, foundation, and our power source. You can remove others' imprints by stating out loud, I remove all non-me energy related to person's name from all of my cells, all of my physical and energetic bodies, and all of my sexual organs, and I send it back to where it can do no harm. It can also be useful to cut any cords that remain between you and people that have interacted with sexually. Number 4, reclaim your body. This step is about taking your power back by creating a new relationship with your body. It's about knowing that it is safe to be fully in your body. Enjoy being in your body and about learning to love all of your parts. Some effective practices that have found most effective are through dance, saying affirmations in the mirror, self-touch, and creating artwork honoring your sexual organs. Trust the ways you feel called to reconnect and enjoy your body. Number 5, identify your needs. What do you really need to feel safe and satisfied sexually? If you do not know this, it is time to find out and then do what you need to do to create it. For women especially, it is important to know what kind of environment, touch, and partner allows us to feel most safe, free, and open to receiving pleasure. Also be open to recognizing if you need time away from sexual interaction with others. If you're becoming aware of sexual challenges, it can be a great idea to take time off to heal and do some self-exploration. There were 2 years when I needed to be single and celibate to recalibrate my relationship to sensuality, and other times when I needed a trusted partner, lover that I was deeply connected to and knew just how to honor me. Listen to and explore your needs. Number 6, go slow. An amazing and deeply fulfilling sex life is sprouted from physical, emotional, and spiritual trust. When we or our partners have experienced some sort of sexual wounding, it is common to not be fully present in the bodies. Perhaps something painful happened and we had to leave our body to protect ourselves. Or maybe we just never had a partner that knew how to really take their time and honor us. When we are present in our bodies, it is hard to be connected to your intuition as to how far you would or wouldn't like to go with someone, and also makes it more difficult to receive pleasure. It can take some time to rebuild a sense of trust and safety to fully relax into sharing our bodies and our orgasms with another. Take it slow with someone new and begin sexual interactions in a sweet, loving, and slow way to put your nervous system at ease and feel comfortable expanding into your full sensual expression. So this was a great article, and I am really thankful to Spirit for always leading the right information at the right time. And I didn't read it before I read it out loud here. I'm just now reading it, and you can see that it follows up to what I said on the radio show. Really, truly healing sexually is so important, and the reason is because I've stated before that we're all sexual beings. It's a natural state for us. And when you've been wounded and hurt by traumas, abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, especially as a child growing up, and if it was constant sexual abuse, that is even harder. It doesn't make it any, I would say, less than someone who maybe one time that has been violated. Being violated is being violated. It doesn't matter how many times and by whom. One of the things that I ask for those, as I've stated before on the radio show, is living consciously and really connecting. And when you see the signs that someone is being abused, no matter what type of abuse, that you reach out to help them. Even if they refuse your help, still reach out to help them, because a lot of times we tend to ignore things and say, oh, somebody else will do it, or, well, they didn't want my help, so you don't bother. Understand that for anyone who goes through these type of traumas, they feel stuck. It's almost like they're not here anymore. It's like they're numb. And only those who have gone through it understand and know what I'm talking about. What I experienced just from just an energetic feeling, not an actual feeling, was horrible. It was horrific. It's almost like I was energetically feeling what it was like to be gang raped. And that was not fun at all. It was not in any way a good feeling. And so, consciously and conscious living is what's important now. Where we're really attuned to one another. We're really treating and honoring each other with respect. Where we're living divinely. Where we can be safe. And each person can feel safe. No one is trying to be manipulating or controlling or having power over the other, because there are instances also of females that have also abused their power sexually over a male and a female, really and truly. So it goes both ways. And so we're coming back to that space and place of honoring one another. And then as we all work together, that those who notice, pay attention, especially to your children, especially if you know something's off with them. And it's important that if you even keep an open dialogue with your children, so that way you are opening that space of intimacy between yourself and your children, where they can come to you and talk to you if anyone tries to touch them, if anyone tries to do anything to them. But if you close off your mind and close the doors and just feel like as if they're making up a story or it can't be true, if they're telling you that someone is molested, whether it's their father, a uncle, a cousin, a brother, a nephew, it doesn't matter. Take it seriously, because the moment you turn away from them and you pretend as if it doesn't happen, or they're talking foolishness, or you're ignoring it, you know what? You're spiraling and sending that child into an emotional state that's damaging, that they may not even return from it. And these are the children that can grow up to start becoming violent and anger and rage and killing and kidnapping and all kind of manners of stuff. And they have sexual dysfunctions. You see, one thing, just from one act of not paying attention and giving that person or child any type of acknowledgement of what they're experiencing, what it does into society. You know, the psychos and, you know, the stalkers and, you know, the ones who bring weapons to school or whatever, and bullying. And it's just so many different things that have been so narcissistic and terrible towards other human beings. And so it's so important to start living life consciously. Conscious living. Conscious living. Even if the person is not saying anything, that you can feel it. That's what a part of conscious living is all about. You can feel it and know when something is off, when something is wrong, and not turning a blind eye or turning your face away or your eyes from not seeing or noticing, or even better yet, feeling it. So I'm going to end this segment, and I'm going to continue because, of course, I'm going into 3-4 days of not recording, that I am catching up now with everything. So just remember to connect to one another consciously in all aspects and in all areas of our lives. It's time for us to come back into a place of peace and joy and blissfulness. And that means that we are paying attention to ourselves, or what we need to do to clear up, and also paying attention to others, to their needs, and if they need your help, for those who are strong enough to say, hey, I can help you even though I'm going through what I'm going through. That is what partnership, community partnership, neighboring partnership, your children partnership. It's all a togetherness. That's what this is about. That's what brings us into a place of feeling safe, that we can turn to each other when we need help, when it's necessary. So on that note, I'm going to go into the next segment. Thank you.